When you don't really know what sales is, it can feel scary. They think that it's stealing money from people's wallets. That's in their head about sales. And it's like, no, you're adding value to that person's life. You're giving them something that they want and that they need. You're going to improve their life from that. So let's shift your mindset and just attach sales to helping people. Because the more sales that you have, the more you're helping people.
The fact that we have naturally gravitated towards the idea of like overcoming blocks to selling, there's probably not a more valuable thing we could be talking about, because can you imagine working at a company that didn't sell anything?
They would not be, there would be no company.
What would that even mean? There's no money to pay anyone. Like sales is the lifeblood of not only business, but every job relies on selling, even if you're arm's length and you're not the one doing it. So, you know, if we're talking about how to get everyone more comfortable with the idea of selling and salesmanship, I think that's a valuable conversation. So that said, tell me a little more about this idea of selling without being salesy.
So in my mind, the salesy salesman is the one where you know, and everyone says, oh, the car salesman, where you show up, they ask you no questions about anything, and they just start selling to you. They have no idea what you want, maybe you've been already looking at something, what you need. They just start selling. And they're talking about something that you have no interest in. You're like, they're trying to sell you this sports car, and you're a mom or a dad with like 4 kids, you got to get a van, right? And you're like, okay, stop. Like, you don't even want to get to know me to sell me what I really want or need. I don't want the minivan, but I don't have a minivan. So that's like salesy, right? So not being salesy is really genuinely caring about someone and what they want and what they need. People buy what they want, not necessarily what they need. So caring about what they want, asking questions to learn more about what they want, and then figuring out if you have the solution for them. And if you do, you present that in an offer. And then they buy or they don't buy.
Sounds so simple. Why do you think, I mean, look, I get the whole card salesman, smarmy stereotype, but look, I'm 41. I've been buying cars for 25 years. I think the first time I went with my parents and they helped me find a car, and I paid half and they paid half and like whatever. I've never actually met a car salesman that fits the car salesman stereotype. Like, I believe that maybe that's how, like, I've seen the show Mad Men.
Right.
Maybe that's how it was in the 1950s, but like, that's not how sales happens nowadays. If anybody sells like that nowadays, immediately there's a bad review on Yelp or there's a bad review on Google and business goes down and the salesperson gets fired. Like, nobody's doing that anymore. And I don't know that they've been doing that during my adult lifetime.
Yeah.
So how is that prejudice and that stereotype even still a thing that pervades our consciousness, that we're scared to just freaking sell? Because if nobody does that, then nobody can ever get paid.
I think it's just excuses. I don't know, because I also have never met the typical car salesman who, because, you know,
that guy would get fired.
Like right. He wouldn't make any money. Right. And he would get fired. Exactly. You know, I don't know, but I think it's a fear, you know, and that's just what someone told a story once about someone that they heard through the telephone game. And so they're so scared that that's going to be them. They're worried about what someone's going to think. They're worried about pushing someone away. They're worried about looking like this or sounding like that. And it's really just fear coming up with all of the excuses in the world so that you don't have to step outside your comfort zone to get more comfortable in it and make the magic happen.
I get that it's scary, but asking girls out was scary. Because same reason, you don't want to get rejected, right? But I wanted a girlfriend or I wanted a wife, so I overcame the fear. So that's what I don't understand is people want money. They want prosperity. They want freedom. They want options. They don't want to be stuck in a dead-end job. And honestly, if you can sell, you're never stuck in a dead-end job. You're the most in-demand. I mean, the highest paid people in my organization are the salespeople. So like, I want the thing, but I'm going to take the fear of the thing and turn it into an excuse instead of pushing through the fear of the thing. We do that with sales, but for some reason with like dating, we don't, because we
Yeah,
just
super
want the
valid
thing and
point.
we realize it's the only way to get the thing. So I'm curious, what do you think is the difference?
How bad do you want it? I think most people really want companionship bad enough to like get rejected,
Right.
but like how bad do you want whatever it is that you want? And the people that don't want it bad enough let fear take over their lives in whatever it could be. Those people that end up alone. I mean, it's all aspects of
Yeah,
our
I
life.
guess there are people that don't want companionship bad enough to push through the fear.
Yeah.
I know that you work with, and I do too, we work with a lot of aspiring or kind of upstart entrepreneurs that are kind of stuck in that doing it all themselves mode. I
Mhm.
don't want to speak for you. I mean, is that true that you work with a lot of those type of people?
Yeah, I mean, I think I attract people that are in their beginning stages. And so in the beginning, you are doing everything. That's just the
Mhm.
reality. That's how I started. You're a solopreneur, you're taking on everything. And before you know it, there's too much to take on. And you either get burnt out or you get smart.
You get smart, right? And you eventually you have people that do those things, and then you give vague answers to questions that you don't even really know the answer to, or you
Absolutely.
say, "Talk to my people." Um,
Exactly.
okay, cool. So let's talk about that journey, that evolution. You were a nurse.
Hmm.
What happened there? Because you're not a nurse anymore.
I'm not. I mean, I still have my license, keep that up to date. Lord knows I don't want to go take that test again. So we just keep paying the money to, keep that active. But I really have no intentions of going back and doing that. Really, it was a lot of FOMO. If I'm honest, if I'm
Mhm.
totally honest, a lot of FOMO of my schedule. I worked nights and weekends at the time when I, started thinking about entrepreneurship. My friends were going, I was in Chicago at the time. So they were like grilling out and going out on Lake Michigan on a boat. And I was like, great, I have to work tonight.
Mhm.
Like this stinks. And low man on the totem pole. So, requesting vacation. And if you hadn't been there for 30 years, like everyone else, then you didn't get approved. So it was just a lot of really wanting schedule flexibility. And then I'll be completely honest, I wanted to make a lot more money. I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I went to college. I got my entrepreneurial spirit from my father, but he wasn't, he was a pharmacist. So it was like, I didn't really have someone that's like, you can do this. And I didn't really think about it. So I just went to school to be a nurse. And then,
Mhm.
after college, we then figure out who the heck we are and what we want to do and be, and realize that we went to school for something that doesn't have the lifestyle that we actually really want.
Right.
Right. So that was just what, fueled my fire to kind of dive into some things. And I explored and failed and explored some more and failed some more and kept exploring. And here we are.
So what was it? And I love this story because it speaks to so many people in this audience who, were on the beaten path, right? They were checking the boxes and following the guidebook that they were given as a young person. And in fact, this question was asked on our mastermind group the other day, like, who is here because they just have a sense that they weren't getting what they were supposed to get out of life or doing what they were supposed to do with their life? And 100% of the hands went up.
Mhm.
And that's so many people, right? They're doing everything right, but for some reason it doesn't feel right.
Mhm.
That was you, it sounds like, and you started looking. Where did you look? Where did you go? What was your first step?
My natural path was what I knew about and what I was interested in at that time. So I was a nurse. I liked helping people, but I really liked helping people stay out of the hospital
Right.
rather than just slapping a band-aid on and sending them home. So preventative health was a huge passion of mine. And so I started exploring avenues in that and got trained in a muscle testing technique to help with preventative health. Got into all natural supplements and oils and all of those things. And so I dabbled in various different things, found myself in network marketing after I said I would never do this as a business. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I love these products. Everyone needs these. So found myself in that and saw, oh my gosh, I could make what? Like, really? And I was like, signing people up from my toilet seat or like out at lunch. And I was like, okay, cool. So, I was open to exploring different things. So explored that, built, a successful business, able to leave my nursing job, which was my goal in the beginning. And I've always just been open to the doors that open, and taking an opportunity when I see it, or creating one if I want there to be one. So in that process of my network marketing journey, saw a need in the space in my company for resources, business training, because I realized I actually loved training the business side even more than the health product side. So when I had people that were like, yeah, I want to do this business, I was like, yes, this is my jam. I love this. So built a business off of that and started my own membership site, brought my sister in to help with all the things I wasn't good at. And one of my sisters, and, that's now a multi-million-dollar business. Now I've got my coaching brand, which now I help other people like me who were, on the path to figuring out what exactly they're going to be the master at.
Yeah. It's interesting. You talk about you were a nurse and then you like taking care of people, but, with preventative health. And I would say now you're still just taking care of people with preventative health, only you're preventing, financial sickness, or even more broadly, like a kind of a fulfillment level sickness of people that are stuck doing a thing just to get the money that they need to live. But it's not just that they're financially sick. It's their life is just not joyous. Right. And you're sort of tending to that. And I see myself in what you just said, where you reach a point where it's like, what does the world need? Well, there's these health products, but the reality is anybody can distribute these health products because the health products are the products, right? I mean, if you find a product you believe in that has an affiliate program, there's probably 20,000 people out there promoting the health product. But when you figure out how to build a business successfully promoting that health product, now you're not one of 20,000 people. Now you're one of like 200 people, or, it's usually a pretty small percentage, right? Yeah. So the more the more rare your expertise is, the more valuable it is, the more people probably need it. And so here you are. It's interesting you mentioned MLM. Talk about an industry with a horrible success rate. I mean, it's really low. And so I want to ask, like, what did you do? You say you're signing people up on the toilet. Most people can't sign people up. They go to a party with 500 people. They can't sign somebody up. You got them coming to you in the bathroom.
Okay. Well, let's be honest. The reason why I was in the bathroom was because I was hiding from my child at the time. That was the only place I could get on my phone and text someone back.
Right.
Sales, it's something that I realized I had a skill in, but also I wasn't afraid that this was a sales thing. And the reason why why the success rate in MLM is so low is, one, because anyone can do it. Yeah. Like the cost barrier is so low that everyone tries it. And the reality is most people don't have the grit to push.
And they don't have any skin in the game.
Right. They don't have any skin in the game.
$300. Like, how far are you really going to go for $300?
Right. Exactly. And so yeah, I don't even remember what I was talking about before.
Oh, you were telling me why your natural humility kicked in and you didn't want to fully answer the question. You were telling me why you were so good at something that so many people.
Oh, yeah. Yes. So, and I hear this all the time in network marketing. It's not selling, you're just sharing. And I'm like, girl, you are bro, babe,
Right.
Yeah, you're selling these products. So if you're not good at selling, if you have this mindset block with selling, you got to get rid of it. You have to get rid of that. You have to realize you're still doing a good thing. You have to figure out how to not be salesy and, be vulnerable with people, put the value out there. Listen, your job is to tell them about the products and help them solve their problems with these products. And their job as an adult is to figure out if they want to buy it. Right?
Wow. You mean that when people buy something from you, it's not your fault and you didn't take their money?
No, never.
Because I have an email from a disgruntled customer that says the opposite. He says that I took his money.
I mean, in the
Apparently we're not
literal,
consenting adults in the free market.
right, in the literal sense, of course. But here's the deal. You shared what you had to share, and it was their choice to open up their wallet and spend their money. And yep, you're going to get disgruntled people that send these emails and do disputes to their banks saying they didn't approve this. How did you get my card?
Right.
My card expired. How did you get my card? You stole my no, this is technology and the software updates. And if you don't cancel, it continues to charge you. Yeah. You'll learn a lot from your support inbox for sure. Love my people.
Yeah.
But yeah, sales. So, that was something that I wasn't afraid of. I didn't have to overcome a bunch of mindset blocks. And I see that in any, not MLM, not MLM, a huge thing, coaches, course creators, whatever your business is, so many people still have these blocks up, these mindset blocks of sales. They don't want to be salesy. They don't want to push people away. They're afraid to ask for the sale to close the deal, and it prevents success.
Yeah. I used to own here, I'm in my office here, and upstairs, I used to have a digital agency that had a phone sales component. We had about 25 seats for people to sit and get on the phone and sell. And I live in St. George, Utah. It's not a huge town. Unless you're in real estate development or maybe a handful of other things, there's not a lot of like 6-figure jobs here. Like, it's not like being in a big city. And my gig that I used to offer people upstairs, and we would take anyone. Like, we had people coming in out of drug court, like people that literally couldn't get hired anywhere else. And if you did well at that gig, you could easily make $500 a day, which, for an 8-hour shift. So we're talking 125 plus grand a year, 125 grand a year. And I would have people, these are people that they couldn't even get a job at, not all of them, but there were some who could not get hired at 7-Eleven because they had a record or, a transportation challenge or whatever. And we had flexible shifts, and they could have made 125 grand a year if they would have just picked up the phone and tried to sell something. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't bring themselves to do it.
Mm-hmm. It's a scary thing.
Is it though?
When you have mindset issues, when you don't really know what sales is, it can feel scary. I'll give that. But I don't think that once you realize what sales really is and the strategy, and listen, we're just identifying the problem. We're giving them the solution to their problem with our product or our service. And we're saying, is it for you or is it not? It's really simple. And when you break it down like that, without all of the stigma and everything, it's not scary.
For a long time, I have been pretty passionately obsessed with sales. I think it is the ability to create demand on the marketing side and to fulfill demand, or let's say to satisfy demand on the sales side, and then to fulfill demand on the delivery and service side. Those are the 3 links in the chain of business, right? Mm-hmm. And you hear a lot of people that are really focused on marketing, and you and I both see it being kind of on the internet like we are, people that are so obsessed with finding a system or a program that allows you to do marketing without selling, right? Which is like, I don't know even what that means. It's like cooking without eating or something like,
right.
And so, I've for a long time been a real advocate for sales. Like, I think they should be teaching sales in school. I think they should have kindergartners pitching to each other and learning about transference of belief and energy and enthusiasm and enrollment and service and all the great things that come from selling energy. Is this? You're obviously a coach. What do you do? How do you help people push through this fear? Do you have to help them want it more, want the outcome more? Or is it more like therapy where it's just like tackling the fear head on?
Yeah, I think it's more like of a mindset thing. So I know that they want it. Like, they wouldn't be paying me so much money if they didn't want it. So it's like, okay, what is the block here? And how are we going to move past this? Because it's really affecting your monetary goal that you have,
Right.
So working through that and just having them kind of work backwards, like, why is this an issue? Can you think of a time where you like got super jaded and were like, oh my God, I never want to do that again? Like, let's talk through that. What would happen if someone said no to you? I love the and then what game for like anything.
Ooh.
Where they're like super scared about something. It's like, okay, so you're doing a stage presentation, in front of thousands of people. What are you scared about? Then I'm going to forget my words. Okay, well then what? Then I'll just start talking about something else. Okay, and then what? And people will hate it. Okay, and then what? And like at the end of that, you could go down as negative a path as you want. At the end of the day, you're still alive, you're still standing.
Right.
Right. And like you can learn from it and move forward. So the and then what game, is always good to play. But also just figuring out what their mindset is around sales, and like maybe they just really don't understand it and they don't know what sales is and means. They think that it's stealing money from people's wallets, giving them something they don't want. Like that's in their head about sales. And it's like, no, you're adding value to to that person's life. You're giving them something that they want and that they need. You're going to improve their life from that. So let's shift your mindset and just attach sales to helping people. Because the more sales that you have, the more you're helping people, I think.
Yeah. So then let's talk about that. I mean, you obviously put that in practice. You joined, I guess you started with MLM. Obviously now you've moved on to creating your own products and doing affiliate marketing and you coaching and all this other stuff that you do. How did you, before you were a seasoned, savvy business person, you were a nurse. Mm-hmm. How did you get good at business? I mean, you said like you didn't have the natural sales resistance, but there's a lot more to it than just being able to sell. So what was your sequence of getting good at this?
A couple things. One, a growth mindset. So always wanting to grow, always wanting to get better. I've sought out coaches. I myself pay for coaches, various things, mindset coaches, business coaches. I spent time watching videos, listening to shows like this, learning as much as I could. That's one way to get better. Another way to get better is just to do it and fail and learn. And so things were not perfect in the beginning. I've made mistakes. I've hired the wrong people. I've set up the wrong programs. I've made, decisions that were like, okay, that was not the best thing to do. I learned and got better and my business grew bigger. And now, I help people try and avoid some of those mistakes, but failing is a part of the process. And so you have to be afraid not to fail because you're going to do it. So the question is, in your failures, are you learning? So I've basically, with my mindset coach, we've basically redefined failure. And I've created this definition around failure that actually makes it impossible for me to, quote, fail. So my definition for failure is, any time that I don't succeed at something and don't learn a lesson. And the reality is that every time I fail, I learn a lesson. So my brain is actually telling myself that I'm actually never failing at things. And that helps me keep going and push forward.
I'm totally stealing that. Failure is when you neither succeed nor learn, basically. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If imitation is the highest form of flattery, consider yourself flattered.
Perfect.
Or what did they say? No, I guess that's it. Yeah, never mind. There's a Picasso quote: "Good artists borrow, great artists steal." So I'm going to be a great artist and steal that.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's say people come to you, and which by the way, people can come to you and ask this question. So I'm teeing you up to say this is what they'll discover when they do. They come to you and they say, "Hey, I know you coach a lot of people with online business. That's kind of your jam, right? And various types of online business, I'm sure. So I don't want to assume that I know. People come to you and they say, hey, I want to pivot my career. I want to, have more lifestyle flexibility or figure out how to generate income from a laptop sitting on a beach somewhere, or whatever, fantasy people have. What is, based on where we are right now in the world, I know it maybe is kind of fluid, but like, where do you steer people these days as far as the best opportunities out there?
100% we have to look at not necessarily what you're good at, but what you find joy in.
Yeah.
Because if you're waking up to do something that you don't really enjoy, you're not going to push through the hard days. You're not going to move forward. So, identifying something that you are maybe knowledgeable about, but you also enjoy. So that's, one avenue to do. My whole thing is I'm all about working less and enjoying and earning more. So the people that come to me for coaching, they want to scale back their working hours or make sure that their working hours are doing the stuff that they love. Right. So it's helping them figure out what would you enjoy doing? And how can we scale that? And right now, I mean, I think digital products are amazing. There's a high profit margin in that. And that's what I know. And so that's definitely who I tend to attract, people that want to, create courses, membership sites, take the knowledge that they have. So it's interesting. My private clients tend to be people who've been successful in what they're doing, but then want to pivot and add this digital product component to it.
Mm-hmm.
So someone who wants to add a membership or a digital course so that they can get away from maybe even private one-on-one stuff and like go online and share with the masses, because that's just a way to work smarter.
So I can say this: if you want to work less, go work with Krissy. Don't come work with me. If you come work with me, I'll just tell you that if you want more, actually, I'll tell them both. I'll say, you need to get more leverage. Like if currently 1 + 1 = 2, you need to get to where like 1 + 1 = like 400.
Mm-hmm.
But then you also need to stop doing 1 + 1 and make it like 10 + 10 so that it equal like 40,000. Whereas Krissy will be like, let's just make 1 + 1 = 400.
Right.
And then go home and spend more time with your kids. Right.
Right. Exactly.
It's like different, but it's true. The point isn't how much you work. The point is the leverage you get from your work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Like
Yeah.
how to increase the multiplier on the work that you do. So what is kind of because by the way, that's like everybody's dream, right? Is like, well, if I could, it's either if I work 8 hours, if I could make the same money working 2 hours, or if I like to work 8 hours, but I could make 4 times the money. Either way, it's about that multiplier. What do you see as kind of the big multiplier factor that you can install into people's business or really into their mind so that they'll start operating differently? What's kind of your core strategy that you coach people on to get more leverage?
You mean in terms of like the ability to scale?
Yeah. I mean, because I'm asking selfishly, because I get people that are like, well, this is my job and this is my time and this is what I do and I don't like it and I want to change. And they're like, but I only have 10 hours a week to work on this other thing that I want to use to replace what I currently make working 50 hours a week over here. So it's like, we've got to come up with, something that they can start with that has, as a starting point, 5 times more leverage than whatever they're currently doing, right? Because they only have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
So I'm curious where how you, not so much what do you have them do, but like, what's your strategy to help them not do what most people do online, which is, in the absence of a great coach, they go down the rabbit hole and they chase all the shiny objects and they end up spending hundreds of hours getting nothing done. Hey, sorry for the interruption. I just wanted to let you know you can get a free copy of my book, The Millionaire Shortcut, which shows you the fastest way to become a millionaire in the new economy. And there's a special link just for this episode in the description. So thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the episode.
Yeah, strategy first and foremost, building a business with purpose and intention. So being insanely intentional about everything that you're doing is something that I think a lot of people miss the boat on. They're just like doing all the things to try and do all the things and get somewhere, and there's no intention behind it. So with what you're putting out right now, have you looked far enough ahead to where you want to be 5 years, 10 years, to where there's intention and purpose behind what you're doing now to fuel what you plan to be doing in the future. Most people don't even think about that kind of
Right.
stuff. So, with my private clients, I always, and I really don't take very many private clients because I don't like to trade money for time. So I
Right.
love yeah, let's do a course and you can take the course and, masterminds, lots of people, whatever. But with my private clients, we sit down and we do, a goals, session with their product suite. And we look at, all right, in a year, what do you want to do? What does your product suite look like now? What's the journey that you're taking your clients on? Do we need to fill any of the holes? And at the end of the year, what do you want to have created? And then that causes a ton of overwhelm because they're
Right.
like, I have all these ideas and there's so much that I want to do. And so we zoom out and then we zoom back in and we say, knowing what we know now and where you want to be at the end of the year. And you can even do this, 5 years and go back to a year. And then we zoom back in and we say, what's that first thing that you need to start doing to start the domino effect, to lay those dominoes down so that at the end of the year, you're there. And it was, it's not effortless, but it feels effortless, right? It just kind of tees everything up to move forward.
Yeah. I mean, for people that are used to trading 1-for-1, now they're trading 1-for-1, then 1-for-1.1, then 1-for-1.2. That like there's an exponential growth.
Mm-hmm.
It does actually feel effortless. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I can say that for myself. I mean, trading some time for more money feels effortless compared to trading more time for less money.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like
Right.
I take private clients because I find joy in diving really deep with an
Yeah.
individual and getting face to face with one person, in my coaching brand. So I do that a little bit for my own satisfaction. Of course, I don't want to resent the person, so I charge them what I feel comfortable charging. But then, other business that's membership with 6,000 plus paying members
Yeah.
that the team is creating these products for them and coaching, I can serve the masses. So that's fulfilling my purpose of helping, as many people as I possibly can. And it's filling my bank account, which is not a bad thing to have
That's not a bad thing.
happen.
By the way, because then when you have more money, it means you can also be better at buying stuff, not just selling stuff.
Absolutely. Doing all the things that fill you up,
Right.
donating to a charity that you love, helping someone out who's in need, taking your family on a vacation. That was something my sister and I did over Christmas after my dad passed away. It was like, this holiday is going to suck. All right, we are paying for, to take everyone to another state, a sunny state, and we're just going to do it differently this year. So it allows you to give back a whole lot more in the ways that you want.
So one of the things that I always hear you say, I think it's actually how you close out your podcast, is you say done is better than perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to say, I mostly just wanted to say that because it's when I think of you, that rings in my ears and I'm like, yes, because when we talk about the rabbit hole, we talk about the shiny object syndrome that so many people go down. To me, that characterizes that as much as anything, is that they do all this stuff and they never finish anything.
Mm-hmm.
So I assume that's a big part of what you're doing. When you talk about working backwards and tripping the dominoes, it's like, what do you need to finish so you can get to the next thing that ultimately leads you to the big thing?
Yeah, it's literally the main thing that has helped me be so successful. Because if I got so stuck on perfectionism, on, ooh, like, is this going to be good enough and all of that, I never would have launched my own business. And so many people are stuck in that. And I still, I'm guilty of still finding myself wanting it to be really good. Like, oh my gosh, now I'm multi-seven figure. I have this persona to hold up.
Right.
And then I have to be like, wait a minute, Krissy, what do you tell all of your people out there? Done is better than perfect. Get it out there, see what the market's going to say about it. You can go back and make tweaks and modify it. But you're never going to take that next step forward and do the thing you want to do if you are just trying to be a perfectionist and and comparing yourself to everyone else and trying to do it better. Just do it. Just get it done to the point where you can, have a buy button on it and just put
Right.
it out there, and then go back and make the changes that you want based on the feedback that you get.
Yeah. And by the way, I would say not only is done better than what is done is better than perfect because it's done. Sometimes done is better than perfect because it actually performs better. And I'll give a perfect example. I was on a call with our ad managers the other day, and like our best performing ad in the market right now is like this pretty high production value ad that, I took my Can-Am out in the hills, like an off-road vehicle, and drove around, and we had a drone fly over me, and I like pulled up and we had to control the sound, and I delivered the line and it was like kind of like Hollywood-esque like production. But here's the thing. It works really well on YouTube. It totally sucks on Facebook. Why? Because it's too good.
Mm-hmm.
It looks too perfect. So then I just grabbed my vlog camera that I carry around with me right here the other day in the car and was like, no prep. I just was like, what am I going to talk about? Okay. Hi, Jeff Lerner here. Did you know? So grab the link below and I'll see you there. Right? Like just off the cuff. It's crushing.
Mm-hmm.
It's crushing because I just got it done. I was like, oh, that we need this done. Okay, give me 5 minutes, done, and just send it off. And like sometimes it's not just good enough. Sometimes it's actually better. And I think there's almost something like metaphysical about that. Like the universe rewards when you I have it on my wall behind me, right? Oh, I guess, I don't know if you can see it there, where it says like, get your shit done.
Yeah.
Like when you just get shit done, the universe like rewards you for that.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents anyways. So I've mentioned your podcast a couple times. Tell me about your podcast. It has one of the coolest names of any podcast out there, which is Badass is the New Black. But other than a cool name and the fact that I know you had one really cool guest, tell me about it.
Right. Yeah. I keep going with, okay, so done is better than perfect. Totally went with that when I started my podcast.
Right.
Listen, I'm dragging my feet. I'm trying to figure out what's the perfect microphone and what's the, what system do I need and all these voice things. And I was just like making excuses, trying to get like, it has to be great and it has to be perfect. And then I was like, all right, let's be honest. I'm never going to get this thing launched if I don't just say, okay, Zoom, simple microphone, let's do it. So there's that. I really got stuck on this name, Badass is the New Black. And sometimes in my head, I'm like, should I change the name to be more about like what we talk about? But then everyone's like, it's such a cool name. So I just can't drop it. Love it. But the podcast is, now I have a much better system in place. And so now I do have guests, interviews, amazing people like you, Jeff, that come on and we talk about your journey a little bit, because I think, it's important for people to see that, hey, all of us up here, not up here, like we're better than you, but like that have reached a certain level of, and I say monetary success because everyone's success is different, but like, the money piece of it, we all started at the beginning, just like everyone else. So I love hearing some of the stories of these entrepreneurs, how they got to where they are. The journeys just fascinate me. We talk about the strengths of that person. So like picking out those little things that they're good at and seeing in their story how those really played a role to being successful, because we're all good at something. So if you can just kind of grab onto that and let that help you, take off, then you can hire out the stuff you're not good at. Right? You can set it up to automation, you can hire it out. So let's focus on the things you're good at. We talk about systems and process. So that's just something you need if you want to be able to work less hours or do the things that you love in the hours that you want to work. If you want to work 40 hours, perfect. We want to make sure that it's doing stuff that you love so you don't get sick of what you're doing. So we talk about systems and process that's working for that person. And then we dive into whatever topic they're an expert in to help that person build their business bigger, better, faster online.
What could you pick one episode of your podcast that you think would be a great place for people to start? That's like, it doesn't have to be your favorite, but it's something that you think really embodies like the value that you deliver through that show.
Oh, besides yours?
But yeah, that's a given. You don't have to say mine. I appreciate that. But
oh gosh, I don't know. To be honest, I kind of feel like the beginning of my podcast sucked. I will say that just because it was like a done is better than perfect. And half of the time I was like, let's go ahead and record, I don't know why, but I have to air something tomorrow. So let's just pick something. Right. But I just had someone that, DM'd me on Instagram and we got to chatting a little bit. And I said, look, listen to the podcast. There's some really great things on there. So she started at the beginning and I was kind of like, oh, face palm, like cringing a little bit. And she's like, I'm 7 episodes in and this is amazing. Like, and this is like, not just for business, it's for life. And I was like, okay, so maybe just start at the beginning. It might be a little rocky in there, but apparently, Megan says that she was getting some really great info and getting really inspired by it. So I'm just going to send you back to the beginning.
Go to the beginning. I support that. It's funny. Yeah. So I look at my show and it's been just about a year. Although when I started, I did like 1 episode and then like I didn't do another episode for like a month. And then I did like another one. And then it was like every 3 weeks, then every 2 weeks. So now I'm like in a regular cadence. We release like 2 or 3 episodes a week, but technically it did start a year ago, but those episodes, like one of them was like 3 hours long.
Oh gosh.
And it was just me and friends, like people I knew, and we were just talking and there was no intro. There was no out. I think we might've gone back and like bookended intros onto them, but it was just, yeah, it might as well have just been called like Entrepreneurs Chilling.
Hang sesh. But but look, done is better.
But it was so good in a way.
Yeah. And done is better than perfect. So just doing that and doing it imperfectly and like open the doors to let it evolve into what it is now, and it might be more polished and whatever. I'm sure, the info that you guys chatted about during that 3-hour session, was probably valuable in some capacity. But like you can get better. And if you want it to change and evolve with you, then it will. And like mine has. Season 3 is, in terms of like the structure behind it is so much better. But it doesn't mean there's not value, in those. I don't have 3-hour episodes. Mine are like, shoot, I got to get this done. My process was horrible. It's like, so 7 minutes. Okay, great. So some of them are 7 minutes. Some of them are 20 minutes. That was kind of my initial thing, was like short and sweet and to the point, no fluff. Let's just give you the stuff. You're busy, whatnot. But now with interviews, to get the really good stuff, you got to go longer than 15 minutes. So
I'm impressed you have seasons.
Oh, well.
You are a very organized person if you have seasons.
I don't even know how the seasons came up. I think I just saw someone who had seasons on their podcast. And I started my podcast August of what year are we in? 2019.
Right.
And so for whatever reason, I think I wanted to like take a little bit different angle on it. And so I was like, all right, I'm just going to make August to like the end of the year, season 1. And so then I was like, all right, season 2. And it's kind of worked out well because I've relaunched my podcast now with an actual manageable system. So I'm not like going like a crazy person. And so it's season 3. So season 3 is kind of this new, even newer spin and involvement of really helping people work smarter, systems, process, that kind of stuff with actual interviews every time, not just like randomly. So yeah, it's not really out of like, because I was super organized in the beginning. It's just probably because I was unorganized in the beginning. So I got seasons. There's that.
No, I'm very impressed. 3 seasons. I've got 1 run-on season to date. It's like 150 episode season so far.
Well, see, I think that's kind of cool. Like I'm kind of jealous and envious. Like if I do this, start a new season every like actual calendar year, then I'm never going to have like episode 252. So I'm a little bit envious and jealous of those that just have run on. And then you see like, oh my gosh, episode 375. Dang, they've been at this for a long time. They must know what they're doing. I'm like, back to episode 1,
Or they're just too stubborn to accept that they don't know what they're doing.
Right,
and they just keep going. Right.
I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, I think that fits, at least on this end. So, okay. So I have a couple other questions. I know we have not a ton of time left, but first of all, talk about, I know that obviously you have your podcast business, you have your coaching business, but you have a really, really thriving membership business. It's training focused. Talk a little bit about that, if you would.
Yeah. So the riches are in the niches, my friend. I don't know if anyone listening to this would be someone that would even buy this or like be a member. And that's okay. Because I do say when you speak to everyone, you speak to no one. So the joy in this is that I knew exactly who my ideal client was. I knew what they wanted and they also needed it. And so started this business. So here it is. It's for those that are building their young living network marketing business. So super niche, not even network marketing in general. It's one company inside network marketing. That's how niche we are. But we saw this need for marketing material in a more structured, fun way, and then business coaching to go along with that, because most people that get started in network marketing have no idea about business at all. So, we provide that for them. And so we've just been able to grow that to over 6,000 paying, members. That's not even like how many we've had over time or the people that we serve with our free account and all of that. And the really cool piece is that we've done, multiple seven figures in under 3 years. We're over 3 years now, but we did that in under 3 years with a product that started at $4.95. So what I love about that is that you don't have to be selling a high ticket $1,000, $2,000 program or product to make a lot of money, right? You can either, your strategy can either be, it's so cheap, we have the masses, or it's expensive and we have less people, but you can get to $1 million the same way.
Right.
So really, again, the strategy and intention behind it, making sure that it's priced right for your market. Who's your ideal client? How much do they spend? What will they spend? What are other people paying for this type of thing? So really getting to know your audience. And then it went up to $6.95 and then $14.95. And it was at that for a solid 3 years. So you can put out a really inexpensive product, especially when it's digital.
Yeah.
And, grow it into something really amazing.
And that's monthly. Those are the monthly subscriptions.
Yeah. Monthly. Yeah. And so annual, you save 3 months, when you do annual. So it's even less at that. Now, before, when people would sign up, they would just get content they would get like a handful of content we had made before, and then they would start getting the new content we released every month. So that was our strategy for getting people to stay on. Because at first it was like, let's do this business training, like a course, if you will. And I was like, I really want membership subscription model. That was the network marketing background in my mind. How can we create reoccurring revenue from customers that we've, that trust us now? So I was like, what can we do? Okay, we have to have something that is new every single month that gets them to want to stick around. So, what can we create that provides that? And really, that actually ended up being why people joined originally, not this one business training course, which was really cool to see. And so they used to just sign up and then get the content moving forward. And that caused a lot of confusion for our members. They would hear these people that were our founding partners that had access to everything. And they'd be like, wait a minute, I thought it included everything. So we decided in November to just kind of redo how we do our membership sites and just said, all right, we're just going to double the price, but we're going to give you all 3 years worth of content and then plus the new content moving forward. So basically everyone's on the same page. So, we've had to do a little bit new training because now we're at $29.95 a month as opposed to $14.95. Right. So we're, having to show the value really there, but they're getting way more for the price. So, strategy behind different things and learning things about, customers just as we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah. Membership businesses and continuity businesses are a really, really interesting animal. Someday I should do a whole episode on membership businesses. When I had my agency, we had about I think at one point we had about 2,000 businesses on Continuity that were either subscribed to a marketing service or some of them had a website. And man, like you said, having to re-cement the value month after month after month. I assume you're not doing contracts. This is all month to month.
Yeah, month to month,
At will.
cancel
Yeah.
whatever you want. And I mean, with the price point, you know, certainly in the beginning, people just, whether they used it or they didn't, they're like, I signed up because it was so cheap.
Yeah, but you crossed that $20 a month threshold. In my experience, below $20 a month, people will forget about it. Above, you gotta re-win the customer every month, at least every couple months, or they'll cancel it after a few months.
Yep. So making sure, so that's when you're really focusing on your onboarding and your retention strategy. Absolutely, with that for sure.
Yeah, I'm about to launch. This is a little bit of a plug. I'm about to launch the greatest entrepreneurial software on earth that replaces like 5 other entrepreneurial softwares for funnels and follow-ups and CRM and pipeline management and all that stuff. And yeah, it's all about, I mean, we are obsessively curating and crafting this onboarding process so that from the day you get people in the door, they are so enriched with the value and the experience and that they're actually start consuming the material. Because if they don't consume it, they'll cancel it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Unless it gets $5 a month. Then you have the Planet Fitness model where you're literally just trying to get as many people to join the gym as possible. And then you actually market to people who don't like to work out and don't like to come in. And you're making millions of dollars on every gym because they're paying, no one cancels.
That's interesting.
And like, I'm not knocking them. Like, that's a business model that you could use if you wanted. But we want people to, you know, use and thrive off of our products. So, you know, that is important to us. But this is stuff that like people, when they're starting, they don't even think about this kind of stuff. Okay, once I get the customer, I have to retain the customer. What's my system and my process for that? Right?
Yeah, it's a whole other world. So, and now we've just delved into such a fertile territory here. I wish we had another hour to just talk membership sites and fulfillment and value and retention and churn and all that stuff, but we don't have time. So I want to ask you the one other question that I've had in mind before we end. What would you say, since you became an entrepreneur full-time, let's say since you left nursing, what is the biggest challenge that you have had to overcome and push through, that you have successfully resolved? I should have prepped you for that question before the show.
All right, ask me again.
Okay. And one of, if not but some major challenge, because, you know, I think very often people just assume that like, oh, well, it was hard at first, but I finally made the shift. And once I hit my stride, then it's just been easy ever since. And it just grows and goes. And I just get richer and richer and more successful. Right. You and I both know that's not the case. Right. So what's like a significant hurdle or obstacle that you've had to push through since you've been a full-time entrepreneur that you had to push through and that you've now resolved, and that maybe even that breaking through has made you better?
Okay. I would definitely say getting out of my own way / like learning more about myself. So the personal development has been huge. And I often realize that it's like my own insecurities or my own fears or, you know, whatever that's really holding me back or not wanting to take other people's advice. So I actually love taking advice from coaches. I hate taking advice from my husband. And I do. Anytime, and he's in the business world, like he's super smart in this stuff. And I'm like, like, because you said it, like, nope. So like being able to get out of my own way and be like, where is this coming from? Why are you acting like that? He has value to add. Why don't you listen with an open mind? Has been just tremendous for my business, for my personal relationships. And it's just made me a better human being. So the more you can learn about yourself and just get out of your own way, the better off you'll be. The better off I am anyway.
What a great example of like, of the kind of little neurosis we have buried deep within, that we think we're so together and so objective and rational, but it's like, how come? Because I mean, literally, I struggle with the same thing. My wife probably struggles with the same thing. I know my kids struggle. They don't want to hear it from me sometimes. Like, why is it that there's certain people that we can't take good advice from?
So here's what it was for me and with my husband. When he was sharing advice, hey, you should do this,
Mm.
I heard, you're not doing a good enough job in your business or running your business or managing
Right,
your
right.
business. That's what I heard. Right. So I took it in through my filter, through my insecurities, and I heard something totally different. And it wasn't until I think I was doing mindset coaching that I was like talking this through and I was like, oh my gosh, like that's it. Like it's a me problem.
Hmm.
And I have to change how I'm seeing this. And so just talking that through with him, like, oh my gosh, I realized why I like literally shut you out from any advice. It's because I hear that you're telling me I'm doing a bad job. And so now that we've communicated, communication is just huge. I've learned so much about that through the entrepreneurship, through communicating that. He's always often so much better when he's going to share advice. He'll say, look, you've done an amazing job. You've done a fantastic job. Like you've grown this to be amazing. What I noticed in this company that we're building, this worked. Do you think that that would work for you? Or maybe think about how that could impact what you're doing. So by me sharing with him kind of how I was taking that in, he's even switched up how he talks to me. But if he didn't, sometimes he doesn't, and he still says, oh, you should do this, or why aren't you doing this, or did you do this yet? I have to remember, okay, wait, he's not judging me. He's genuinely trying to give me advice because he knows that I want to succeed. Right? Yeah.
Look at you two communicating so in such a healthy way.
We try. We try.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love what you said about how entrepreneurship challenges you in so many more ways than just sort of, pedantically business, right? I mean, communication, relationships, emotions, confidence, all of even like, time management and habits and it's just all of it. It's so true. How can the world go get to know you more? I'm sure you've just whet their appetite and they want to come into your universe.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you were that one random person, that does the Young Living thing and whatever,
Right.
Grow Workspace is that brand. It's called Grow Workspace, GROWORKSPACE. But most of you here would probably find more value in the Krissy Chin brand. So it's just the Krissy Chin, KRISSYCHIN with the in front. So you can find me on Instagram, Facebook. That's my website. Of course, the podcast is such a great way to get, lots of free, valuable content from me and other people like Jeff. And that is Badass is the New Black.
Beautiful. We'll throw all those links in the show notes. And Krissy, I'm grateful we got to connect for a third time. This has been great. Any final thoughts for the audience?
Done is better than perfect, my friends.
Yes, exactly what I was hoping you'd say.
Done is better than perfect. Go out there, do it, make Jeff and I proud. We don't care if it's sloppy the first time around, just go do it.
And if you love entrepreneurship, then you'll want to keep watching. So click the next interview right here for some more Millionaire Secrets gold. Thanks for watching.
Do you have somebody else, Patricia, that they could speak to? They're only doing $2,000 a month. I don't want to bother you with that. I will get on any call. I don't care what it is. I get on that phone. Everyone should be that way in every business.